the rest of the people at the showbiz world. So there's basically four kind of topics I'm going to talk on, and it's heritage and culture and way people behave and what they gave up and what they choose nowadays. And basically, that's what this kind of video is going to be about. Is basically lions and tigers and bears. Oh my! And this is not Wizard of Oz is what I'm talking about. But you know, we do have masked men hiding behind the badges and screens, coward chicken shits that they want to call themselves military. And that's why I call them out. I call all them military out who are standing with people who takes away rights or falling after these media-induced and comatose media whores out there holding signs talking about we want peace, you know, and they don't even know what peace is because peace to them is taking someone else's right away, and that's no rights at all. Because I call them all those protesters out there in the streets of Topeka and all the streets of Kansas to come to my court case, come to these court cases to coming up and stand for someone's right and stand for someone's right. That way you can learn. That way, the judge and everyone will know that you want to stand for another person's right, so you're not just acting selfish and falling after these media-induced comatose AI falling algorithm pushers out here that knows nothing but selling out and giving up their rights, and then wanting to force everyone else to give up their rights. And that's what America is never about, giving up rights. So the four topics, like I said, we're going to go over. Is this one person? What is this one person? Let me see some engagements before I start going to these topics. That's why I thought it's more like this AI following people out here who has nothing really to do besides stalk and act like predators. But when they run across me, they become the prey because they no longer a predator when you face a man who stands with Lord Jesus Christ, when they want to stand with the state. And the state is nothing but devil worshiping, cult practicing ways who can't even stand on their own 2 feet. So they have these hired guns. Basically, all these people hiding behind badges, bitches, and children out here. So that's why people need to stand up. And like I said, so what's this one person? I'm looking for more people to engage on this thing. So, because let's interact, because we're going to go over these four topics. So there's four people. Are these the same four state-induced comatose people that came in the past, or are there four new people that's out here today? Because the same four that came in the past doesn't want to speak. They don't want to engage. They're more like coward, media-induced chickens that don't want to face a man. Hey, what's up? How are y'all doing? Thanks for engaging. That's what I'm looking for before I go into this topics, because we're going to talk about the natives, we're going to talk about blacks, we're going to talk about whites, we're going to talk about Hispanics. So those are going to be the four topics. How y'all doing? So we're going to just, like I said, well, first of all, anyone, let me ask, is anyone in the Topeka, Kansas or the state of Kansas area? Is anyone out there? Because I'm looking for people who stands up. I know this is a controversial thing. It's kind of I hold my head in shame, like, damn, why do they sell their culture and heritage out type situation? So that's what it's going to be about. Well, might as well jump right into it. The natives. Here's a little situation. I had a phone call this morning from a past, someone I consider a family member in the past, a native, one of my native family members. And she got into drugs, you know, but no need to get into that topic because many people out here getting drugs these days. And that's where I've been trying to stand against and help people out in the whole long situation. But she called me up in the past and talked about dreams. And this is where I wrote it's actually to the Catholic Church is the same situation I wrote a verse to, where they denied situation unless they decided. But this chick talked about she takes her dream seriously. It's like, yeah, I do too. We're talking, yeah, I do too. I take my dreams seriously. But then, you know, her dreams is taken seriously until I speak about my dreams, which is kind of bigger and higher complex than what she can understand. And my dreams are discredited. So dreams are irrelevant to her situation. So she's selling out her culture, heritage, and many of these people do. It ain't just hers. I'm just using her as an example where I can speak from, where there's actually past experiences out here. We're not talking about my dreams right now, but we're talking about this situation I'm dealing with the natives in general. These natives in the state of Kansas, I can speak of particularly, where they're selling out their culture and heritage. And here's another situation. There's just an example on a native topic. We're talking about that. They talk vague about, she talks vague about spirits, and many, not just her, I ran across many, they talk vague about spirits, but they don't know that there's an order to their spirits. There's a head spirit and there's order to their spirits. But they don't want to discern and figure that out. They just want to talk about, we have dreams and spirits because, they're living in the now. And, they got to get the full understanding of their culture and heritage, which many people have been prevented in the past, and that's what the situation is. The state has harmed their culture and harmed their heritage and made their children, and they're doing the same thing. They did the same thing to my house that I can speak directly on, where they kidnapped, drugged, and murdered my children, where I speak for my rights and why I call everyone in Topeka, Kansas to stand up for their rights. And actually, if you want to do something, you need to stop falling out these media-induced comatose retarded rejects that you see on the TVs, and you need to start standing up for people's rights, because the media is going to just make you take away someone else's right. They, like all these people out here in these protesters, I see them out there holding signs trying to take away other people's rights. They're arguing to take someone else's right away. They ain't talking about giving someone a free choice and a free right and free will. So that's where I have things against all these people. And if they want to stand up for someone else's right, they can come out to Topeka, Kansas, and come to my court case and show up. I left in the description box an email that you can contact. But now we're going to move on with the blacks. We'll just talk about blacks. So this is like, oh, no one wants to talk about blacks because their history in America. I understand that, but everyone's okay, and all these Christians okay with everyone saying GD. I'm going to just say goddamn. I never say that word, but I'm just going to say it so everyone understands. Everyone is okay with someone saying that word, but no one's okay with someone saying nigger out here. It's like you gotta understand. If you're talking about person and nigger, then that's what you're talking like Uncle Tom. And I'll get into that topic later. But we're talking about the black culture and heritage, how they sold out their culture and heritage. Because back in the day, I was like, yeah, ruined them all. They stood for justice. They had Martin Luther King. They had Malcolm X out there. They had all these people standing out there. And then the white people, these government started shooting them. Because I'm going to talk about the whites next. But the simple fact is, they started taking them out, and no one wants to stand up. Now we got sports entertainers. Their leaders used to be Malcolm X, and they traded Malcolm X, Martin Luther King's for these sports entertainers and these sport leaders. So you got all these sport leaders out here leading all these black culture. So there's no black culture, black heritage. They sold out all their Africans. Nelson Mandela, he was the last one probably stood for the African culture and nature. Now you guys don't have no one out here. You have sports entertainers out here. Let's see someone. There is no one standing up. But on that same topic, I know that hit a number of you people. I see some comments, so I appreciate y'all sticking around. That hit a topic, but nonetheless, that's a true fact. That's a simple fact of the situation. And their leaders used to be, okay. And now y'all leaders are media. That's what I'm going to talk about. Black people, all their leaders are just media. And they want to talk about stuff, and they get mad and get frustrated sometimes, but they're still just leaders that are just media. And they don't want to stand with their Malcolm X's, or they don't want to stand with their Martin Luther Kings, or they don't want to be a Malcolm X, or they don't want to be the Martin Luther King. One of the two. I don't know what the situation is, but I'm looking for leaders to stand up, and I can't find any. So that's the situation I'm in. So now moving on with the whites and Europeans. Oh, let's get some more people back here up on this topic, because next topic is going to be whites and Europeans. Let's talk about the whites and Europeans. Let's get some more people coming back. I'm going to take a little drink, because that's the next topic. And now we'll go into a different topic. But when I get to Hispanics, we'll talk back about the Uncle Toms and Uncle Sams, and why I say those slang words that basically are very offensive. Just like it's offensive when I hear the GD. It's very offensive to me. But everyone's just okay with everyone just saying the GD, and you have it on national TV, but it's not okay for someone to say the N-word, type situation. No, there's a double standard there. You got to get your mind right, because saying the N-word, we're talking about people. When you're saying GD, you're talking about Lord God in heaven. You're talking about entity, so you got to get your shit right if you're going to have any respect for me, or think there should be any respect given from this Christian man. And why I say there's no other Christian man, because no other Christian man is able to stand up on their own too and say these words or say the stuff I speak from. So what's this? Jack Butler. What did he say? Jack Butler. Thanks for your engagement, but let's see what they got to say. I tell you what, I'm tired of is this guns. What's guns? What's that? Are you talking about gangs? What's guns? Explain yourself a little bit. If you're still there. Let me get this. I gotta get pad and pen out. So I guess guns doesn't really know what that is, or he's still there. Like the Binks clan. What's the Binks clan? These stuff I'm gonna have to check out later. Binks clan. I'll figure that out later. I'll check it out, do some Googling or something if there's something there. Jack Butler. So I ain't trying to, I don't neglect the situation, but I haven't found anyone to stand up yet, like I said. So we're gonna wait for a little bit more people to talk about. Is there any other thing you got want me to check out later, Jack Butler? Because I don't know what you mean exactly right off the top of the head, but I do know quite a bit of things. But I kind of gave up studying all that stuff about 7-8 years ago because there's no reason for it. No one wants to stand up for their rights. No one wants to stand up for another man's right. So there's no reason for it these days and age. So when no one wants to stand for another man's right, they're not standing up for their rights. So that goes back to black culture. There's no justice there in that black culture. They used to stand for justice. Now they let the media stand for the state's injustice. And that's the situation we're in. So these white Europeans, they sold out their culture and heritage years ago. All right. Yeah, so I'll just wait for a few more people to come on board. Or let's just talk. These white Europeans sold out their culture for years ago. I mean, before they even came over to the States. And that's why many of them American revolutionary people come over here, because they saw their culture and heritage being sold out. So they like, man, fuck this shit, I'm out. And they dipped out. And now here we are today. Now they made it legal. Basically, here's the situation where there are contradictions these days, these white Europeans. They're paranoid schizophrenic. They're paranoid schizophrenic, these whites and Europeans, and they made themselves legal to be running this office in the state and the government, using their money, bribes, and manipulation throughout their media and all this stuff, and forcing people to do what they say. So now they've made it legal to call death threats counterterrorism. So where people getting out here, I mean, like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and back in the day, they got these death threats. And the state just calls it counterterrorism. Because they're just calling all these people who stands against the state terrorists, when really they're the judicial terrorists the state judges are. And that's why it's called judicial terrorists, is because they don't want to fall after their own. They talk about God, but yet they don't want to fall after their own Bible. They don't want to fall after their own God, what they speak from. So the whites want to talk about all this God, and they want to preach all this God. Usually whites, and the Catholic Church is ran by a lot of whites, and even this Protestants, a lot of Protestant churches are ran by whites, That's why the separation, there's a segregation of the churches type situation when it comes to Protestants. So let's see what's the next one. Okay, yeah, here's another where white contradicts, where they're just negligent in their behavior, because they'll get mad at me or someone else because we smoke a cigarette and carry a gun and believe in shooting someone in defense and protecting ourselves and rights and whatnot, like I do stand for my right. But on the same hand, they're going to go and support a genocidal ideology. Some ideology that says it's okay to basically create a mass genocide upon your own race and culture. So, they just don't make any sense, these white Europeans out here. They just don't make any sense these days. So, moving along, the last one would be this Hispanics. Does anyone have this one person? Is it the same person popping in and out? Or is it a different person coming back? Or a different person keeps showing up? Or is it this AI thing in the past I've seen where the AI is basically just algorithms trying to figure a short video out clip for me, and that short video is nothing but bootsy, it's janky ass shit. So they just might as well forget about even trying to do a short video, because if I want a short video, I'll do a short video on my own videos, because obviously they don't know what I want to send out there. They don't know what they have no connection with Lord God. They have connection with their devils and cold fractured ways, which is the state, which I speak against, which is all down to this Uncle Sam, Uncle Tom, and Uncle Spick is what I'm going to speak on. So Hispanics in U.S. Hispanics, the U.S. is selling out the church and God. Hispanics are supposed to be, part of that. They've been in the culture of the church for many years, and they're supposed to be, like knowing what the church is and what the church isn't. But now these days, these Hispanics just sell out the church and God for their own state, and they're doing it for the same reason, just to be fitting in with the rest of the culture and society. So Hispanics, here's an example. Hispanics selling out the church and God to support their racist bastard Uncle Spick, who supports Uncle Tom or who's friends with the Uncle Tom, which is obviously the black people sold out their race and culture, and Uncle Sam, which is the whites who sold out their race and culture. So if you Hispanics out there, I don't mean to be insulting, but if you have another name other than Uncle Spick, which I gave to him because there's no one else giving his name, giving the proper name to these people, then speak up. Leave a note. Let me know, because like I said, this is a controversial video, so I need people we need identification for these people out here. We don't need to segregate everyone, but if we're all sitting in the same room, we need to know who's who and what's what. We're in everyone front and faking it and posing and posturing and basically impersonating everyone else. Like these white people out here with their hair in a bun. It's like, you fucking pussy. Get your hair out of the bun. That shit should be for the Chinese. You're disrespecting the Chinese culture, you stupid fucks. I've got long hair and you don't see me doing it, because I know what's right, what's wrong. You disrespect fucking bastards. That's why your people are. So I ain't trying to defend the Chinese, but that's a simple fact and principle. Y'all have no honor. The whites, the Europeans in this America, U.S. gave up their honor. The blacks have given up their honor to their culture. The natives, and the Hispanics are the last ones who seem to be giving up their honor. And the ones of us who do stand against it, the people who, with the bribes and manipulation, who are connected with the state, are just making us outcasts. So the ones who are connected with the culture and heritage of our actual genealogy and what our stuff is, we're the outcasts nowadays. So, I'm cool with it. So I'm wondering who else out here wants to stand up with me, is cool with it, from their own culture, their own heritage, against these devils who called bitches who became spicks, niggers, and you want to give them. Because I'm tired of calling them Uncle Tom, Uncle Sam, and whatever else. I call them what they fucking are. So that's why I'm getting out here. Because, no one gives a fuck about saying GD. So no one should give a fuck about saying what I say about them. Because I'm speaking the truth when everyone else wants to talk about entity. I'm going to be out. This spent 17 minutes. I'm out. Anyway, actually, anyone have any questions? First of all, who is here? Anyone wants to subscribe. I'll check into that. If Jack's still around, I'll check into that stuff.